Wegovy, whatever the name of this wonder drug is, Wegovy. And then there's another one, ozamectin, or I don't know. I don't know what the generic name is. But basically, I didn't know anything about this drug. I didn't really have an opinion on it. I hadn't done any research on it until I listened to an episode of Barry Weiss's podcast on weight loss. And Chris, we're going to have to link to that podcast of Barry Weiss's because it was excellent. They had a couple people on arguing about the pros and cons. And basically, this drug is a weight loss drug, and it's being hailed as a miracle drug. It's similar to how diabetics take insulin. And what's interesting is this drug was originally designed for diabetics to help them drop their blood sugars. And what ended up happening as a very beneficial side effect is they started losing massive amount of weight, right? Because it would basically create a hormone that secretes in your body that tells you you're full, even though you probably haven't eaten as much food as you would normally think you need to eat or feel like you need to eat in order to be full. So they had a bunch of morbidly obese diabetic patients started taking this. Their blood sugars came down, but they always also lost somewhere between 15 and 20% of their BMI, body mass index, which is crazy, right? Like that's a diet pill and a half. And I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm starting to do some reading about it and do some research. And, you know, I cannot tell you the number of times I read that this is a miracle drug, right? First of all, it's being used off-label right now, which means that it's originally prescribed for diabetics. But if we know that, or if doctors know that it causes weight loss, they can prescribe it off-label, meaning off its originally intended purpose in order to help facilitate weight loss, right? And the number of articles I read that, oh, this is a miracle drug, and then I brought it up in a men's group that has about 8 or 10 people in it, and we kind of just all argue all the time about all kinds of crazy stuff. And I'm like, like if it's helping diabetics, awesome. If it's serving its purpose to keep people that were already metabolically kind of on the path to a heart attack or a stroke, keeps them away from that for a few years, cool. As a miracle drug to give to people that need to drop 15 pounds, or what was most interesting about this Barry Weiss podcast was as a drug to start giving 12-year-olds who are obese, I just started rolling my eyes, right? Because how many times have we heard this before? Oh, miracle drug, it's going to cure this, it's going to do that, it's going to do that, whether it's a prescription thing or an over-the-counter thing. And then come to find out, years later, it's like, ooh, yeah, that gives teenagers heart problems. Or, ooh, yeah, that actually has some negative side effects. I remember, you're going to have to look this up, Chris. I think it was called ephedrine or something like that. I remember there was these over-the-counter pills from GNC in the 90s. Everybody on our wrestling team was taking them in like abusive quantities. I think it was called ephedrine. You can probably look it up real quick. I think this drug is now outlawed in America. Ephedrine, yeah. There was a brand that you could get over the counter at GNC of ephedrine. Ephedrine was a drug that's now been banned, and it was basically ephedra. Sorry. This was basically legal speed, and everybody knew it, right? But it was like, oh, it's safe. They sell it at GNC. They sell it at Thrifties. They sell it at Walmart. It must be fine. Well, no, anything that was a miracle drug to help people lose weight probably was going to have some negative side effects, right? And, you know, my complaint and the thing that I kind of latched onto in Barry Weiss's podcast, they had a gentleman on there who was saying, no. We cannot change the science that we kind of completely understood until about the last 30 years ago and say that all of a sudden, well, you know, being fat, it's totally genetic. Oh, we have no control over it. Tell a bunch of 12-year-old kids that like, you have no control of your body. Go ahead and drink soda and drink 1,000-calorie drinks from Starbucks and don't exercise and, you know, be morbidly obese. But it's okay because then we can start injecting you with this once-a-week drug that you'll just be on for the rest of your life to be skinny. That just doesn't pass the smell test to me. I'm not a doctor. I barely made it out of high school. I barely made it out of junior college. I never graduated college. I failed chemistry. Well, almost failed chemistry. I think I cheated my way to a C in order to make my way through chemistry. So like, this is not in my wheelhouse, right? I don't know shit about shit. I'm just saying, again, the whole libertarian thing, like looking at things and seeing if it passes the smell test. Anytime something feels too good to be true, it kind of feels like it's probably too good to be true. And look, if you're 25 and you want to inject some hormone into your body because you've had a lifelong roller coaster battle with your weight, being on a roller coaster, I get it. I come from a long line of fatties. Everybody on my father's side of the family, morbidly obese. My aunt, God rest her soul, she was a lovely human being, but she probably died at 5'2" and 400 pounds. My father, who thank God is a little bit healthier and still kicking, he had a stroke, a heart attack, and quadruple bypass by the time he was 45. Now, we've got some bad genetics in our family. I remember the cardiologist who did his triple or quadruple bypass coming out was a friend of the family and said, hey, Scott, your dad ate unhealthy, too stressed, smoked cigarettes, overweight. But if he tried to do this much damage to a heart, which he did, he wouldn't have been able to do this much damage. So you have some genetics in your bloodline that's going to express itself negatively in heart and cholesterol and hardening of the arteries and plaque and all that stuff. You've got some things working against you. So you've probably got to be a little bit better off than the next guy just to hold kind of par on your overall metabolic health, right? And so my grandfather, my aunt, all of these people that were morbidly obese, they probably had the deck stacked against them slightly. But to completely take away the agency of Americans, right? To completely tell, especially people as young as preteens and teenagers, oh, hey, you have no control over your body. You have no control over what your body does based on what you put in your mouth. Don't worry about exercising. You have no agency. You have no control of your metabolic health. Just take this drug for life. Just inject this into your body. I can't think of a worse precedent to set, right? And so I started just Googling and looking at side effects. And even within the Wegovy, I don't know how to pronounce this.
Wegovy.
Website, it's like, okay, well, this is supposed to be for people that have a BMI over 30, adults over 30, or adults over 27, which basically body mass index, how much fat you have on your body. If you've got diabetes and high blood pressure and high cholesterol. And I will tell you, there's been times in my life where I've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and the fat percentage on my body is over 27. So I would be a probably relevant candidate for this drug if I complained enough to my doctor to get it. But it goes on to say that, hey, some of the side effects are headache, belly pain, nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, indigestion, fatigue, dizziness, swollen belly, hypoglycemia, aka blood sugar because it overcorrects the wrong way, passing gas, no big deal, I already have that, belching, acid reflux, increased common cold and flu, stomach flu, hair loss, nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, constipation, mild allergic reaction, and then serious side effects, pancreatitis, gallstones, hypoglycemia, increased heart rate, risks of thyroid cancer, severe allergic reaction. And then one of the other things that they talk about, it's not on this page, but one of the things that I read about is, hey, increased ideations of suicide. Okay, cool. So I bought a few years on my life because I got my diabetes and my weight under control, but now I'm thinking about killing myself? That sounds horrible, right? And so started reading a little bit more, started looking at what is the risk for thyroid cancer? How does this happen? And look, like I said, I would be a candidate for this based on where my weight, cholesterol, blood sugar has been in the past. And I don't know if you're watching this on YouTube, maybe you can see my face has gotten a little skinny. In the last 90 days, I've been taking my health really seriously, testing my blood sugar, testing my my blood pressure, eliminating the empty carbs, not drinking the sodas, not drinking the sugary drinks. I'm down 21 pounds in 90 days, not starving myself, not doing anything crazy, doing a little bit of intermittent fasting. Maybe I won't eat dinner and then won't eat breakfast till 9 a.m. So I'll get a little 14 to 16 hour window in there to digest and let my body do something. And I'm kind of a metabolic mess. If you saw my spreadsheet of my blood pressure and my blood sugar, it's not great. It's not great. My weight hasn't been great. I was probably at my heaviest around Christmas of last year at 223, 224. I'm down to 202 as of this morning. And look, I know there's people that struggle with their weight at a much higher level than I do, but I come from a family where the deck is stacked against me. I've constantly struggled with my weight since I got out of the Army. I have tons of family and friends that have struggled with their weight. And the reality is, if you move more, you put less shit in your mouth, you put healthier shit in your mouth, you drink more water and you eat less sugar, a lot of these metabolic issues and a lot of this weight problem fixes itself, right? And so is there a place for weight loss drugs amongst people that are morbidly obese and for whatever reason can't get the ball rolling to get on the weight loss path? Absolutely. Does it terrify the shit out of me when they start saying, Harvard Medicine starts saying, no, being fat is just all genetics. Don't worry. You can still drink soda. You can still eat empty carbohydrates. You can still have a food pyramid that is exactly ass backwards from where it should be per the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. Yeah, sure. Just do all of that stuff. And then we'll just put you on a $1,700 a month dose of hormones where we don't have any long-term studies to see what the negative health effects are. Because if you remember, the original intended use of the drug was to cure diabetics. And now they're saying, yeah, no problem. Just like put 12-year-olds on this for the rest of their life. And I'm sure they'll be fine because we've been testing this for about 3 minutes. And just none of this is ringing true to me. So I don't even know if there's a point here. I don't know if I'm just trying to be the smartest guy in the room when clearly I'm not, but I just feel like I kind of wanted to timestamp this conversation so that when I think, my humble opinion, when it comes out like, ooh, hey, 5 years from now, we kind of really overprescribe this, or ooh, hey, yeah, putting 12-year-olds on these weird hormone blocker or these weird hormone inducing drugs that create a scenario that overrides their brain circuitry for one of the fundamental purposes of your brain, aka to tell you when you're hungry. Maybe it had some downstream side effects that we are not real happy with, we're not proud of, or that we didn't see coming, right? Well, I can tell you, if you use common sense, right? If you zoom out a little bit and have a little bit of skepticism, have a little bit of a contrarian opinion when people say there's a miracle drug, I think we can see that maybe there's going to be some negative downstream effects, right? That maybe Instagram stars and influencers and TikTok celebrities telling everybody like, ooh, I love my Wegovy. I mean, I looked at some of this stuff and it's almost like cult-like, where like some of these TikTok influencers are like showing people, giving them their shots in the stomach and how much they love it. And they're going to be down 15 pounds by summer. And it's awkwardly cult-like. It almost looks some of these things like a Saturday Night Live skit. I think at some point in the next couple years to 5 years, we're going to see some real negative stuff develop from this. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a miracle drug. I hope everybody that loses weight keeps the weight off and finds a way to do it without paying $1,700 a month for this drug. And I hope this is the time that the pharmaceutical companies are being totally honest and transparent. But if I had to bet money on anything that has the word miracle in front of it, I would probably bet against it.